Bobcats. Welcome back. We're going to do 3 more vocabulary terms today. The first term we're going to talk about is complementary angles. So I'm going to move this up, zoom in a little bit. I'm going to start with the definition and then I will show you a picture of what complementary angles looks like. Okay, so complementary angles are 2 angles with a sum of 90 degrees. Okay, so there are 2 angles that when you add up the measure of those 2 angles, you get 90 degrees. So let's draw a picture of what this looks like. I still haven't located my ruler, so I'm going to be using a bookmark again as my straight edge. All right, so the first case is when the 2 angles are adjacent to each other, and we're going to talk about what adjacent means in just a moment. Okay. Okay, so first of all, this whole angle right here is 90 degrees. So I'm going to put a little box in the corner that says this ray and this ray form a 90-degree angle. And we're also going to give this a name. This is going to be A, B, C, and D. So when these 2 angles are complementary, they add up to 90 degrees. So let me show you what this looks like. When we're talking about the measure of an angle, instead of just putting that angle symbol, we're going to start with an M. We're going to say the measure of angle. Now this angle right here is called ABC. So we can say the measure of angle ABC plus the measure of this angle right here, CBD, plus the measure of CBD is equal to 90 degrees. Okay, so sometimes you're going to see them attached like this, adjacent to each other. Sometimes they don't even have to be adjacent to each other to be complementary. They just have to add up to 90 degrees. So let me show you another example. Okay, so let's say that these 2 angles right here are complementary angles, and let's give them a name. We can call this angle EFG, and this angle we'll call HJK. So if these 2 angles are complementary, then they add up to 90 degrees. So we can say the measure of angle EFG plus the measure of this next angle HJK is equal to 90 degrees. Okay, so that's complementary angles. The next kind of angle that we're going to look at is supplementary. It's very similar to complementary angles, except for that the difference is that they add up to 180 degrees instead of 90 degrees. So let me turn this around so you can see it better. All right, let's go ahead and start with the definition. Supplementary angles, we can say are 2 angles with a sum of 180 degrees. Okay, so just like complementary angles, they can be adjacent to each other or they can be completely separate. they are supplementary if their two angles add up to 180 degrees. So let me first draw what it looks like when they're adjacent to each other or attached. Okay, so I'm going to name this A, B, C, and D. And what we're saying is that this angle plus this angle is equal to 180 degrees. And the way that we write that is the measure of angle ABC plus the measure of angle CBD is equal to 180 degrees. And just like complementary angles, they don't need to be attached to be supplementary. So let me draw a picture of what that circumstance would look like. Okay, let's give these angles some names. We're going to call this E, F, G, and H, J, K. So if these two angles are supplementary, we can say that the measure of angle E, F, G plus the measure of angle H, J, K is equal to 180 degrees. Okay. All right, let's do one last vocabulary word for the day. It is adjacent. You've heard me saying it a few times, but I'm going to actually go ahead and define this for you so that you have that vocabulary term on your foldable. When the video lesson starts discussing it, you'll know what he is talking about. So you can flip yours over, but when I flip mine over, oh, I guess it's okay. I can go ahead and do that then. Usually the ink bleeds through, but it didn't this time. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about for today is adjacent angles. So I'm going to start with the definition. Okay, adjacent angles are two angles that share a common vertex and side. Okay, so let me draw a picture of what that looks like. Okay, so here's our adjacent angles. Notice that they have a common vertex. And a common side, right there. Okay, so go ahead and hold on to this vocabulary foldable. You're going to want to have it out when you're doing the video lessons related to this topic. And we're going to add to it over the next couple of days. Have a great day, Bobcats.